Okay, now we are going to start with this chapter of management called as working capital. In working capital, we calculate the amount of cash that a business enterprise has to keep in hand at all given time. How does a business enterprise come to know that what is the amount of cash that they need to keep in hand? That is determined on the basis of this particular statement, which is called as statement of working capital. This statement is also used when you need bank loan. When you need bank loan, this is the particular statement that is submitted to the bank manager or to the bank branch so as to avail yourself of the loan. Now let us see how we find out the exact amount of cash that is required by a business enterprise at any given period of time. For this, you have to make statement of working capital. There is a certain format that you have to use while making statement of working capital. Now while doing this sum, I want you all to use the adjoining page. The left side of the page I want you to use for working note, which is written here, and the right side of the page you will make the actual statement. Fine, do we get this thing clear? Now, first let's see the format of working capital. The working note consists of selling price per unit, total units, cost structure. Cost structure has percentage, CPU, that's cost per unit, and PM. PM means per month column, under which you have raw material, labor and overheads. Debtors is calculated by the formula selling price per unit into total units into debtors period upon total period. This is your working note. Now let us move to the actual statement of working capital. The actual statement of working capital is made up of particulars, rupees. There are these 8 particular entries. All sums will have these same 8 particular entries. The first entry is average amount locked in stock of raw material. Average amount locked in stock of work in progress, which is made up of raw material, labor and overheads. Average amount locked in stock of finished goods. Raw material, labor, overheads. Average amount locked in stock of debtors. Advance paid to suppliers. Cash balance required, that gives you gross working capital, less creditors for supply of raw material, time lag, net working capital. Now let us see actually how do we do the sum. I am doing this sum on page number 285, question number 1. Right? Now since all of you have textbooks in the hand, you can open the textbooks and see the sum. I will go on solving the sum. Now the sum reads as: Y Limited furnishes the following information and requests you to prepare a statement of working capital. Production capacity is 40,000 units. That means the factory can produce 40,000 units. But the actual output and sales during the year is 36,000 units. First thing you need to know is the actual output. First we will work with the working note. Now they are saying that the actual production is 36,000 units. So the total units is 36,000 units per annum. If it is 36,000 units per annum, that means it is going to be 3,000 units per month. How did I do this, guys? To convert from per annum to per month, all I have to do is divide by 12. Fine? Now, they have given you the cost structure. They have given you that raw material per unit is 25, labor per unit is 60 and overheads per unit is 10. How do I get the per month figure? CPU multiplied by per month units will give you the per month figure. That means 25 into 3, 75,000. Then 16 into 3, 48,000. 10 into 3, 30,000. So this is going to be my per month units. Fine. First thing that you have to do is make this. Selling price per unit is given to you as 60 rupees. Selling price per unit is given to you as 60 rupees. This finishes your basic working note. When you start a sum, first thing that you have to do is do the working note. Once you've done the working note, now start reading the adjustments. Let's see the adjustments. They give you raw material will remain in stock for 1 month. Raw material we have calculated is 75,000. Average amount locked in stock of raw material. Raw material we calculated is 75,000 for 1 month. So this is going to be 75,000. Fine, do we get this thing clear? Next, work in progress. They've given you process period is 1 month. Now, work in progress is made up of raw material, labor and overheads. Raw material we know is 75,000, we have just calculated. Labor is 48,000 and overheads is 30,000. Multiply. They are saying that work in progress is 1 month. So multiply by 1, 1 and 1. Now one basic rule that you have to remember is, while you are calculating work in progress, labor and overheads has always got to be multiplied with an extra 0.5. So this rule is applicable only for work in progress. Work in progress is always multiplied with an extra 0.5. So now when I work this out, this will be 75,000, this is going to be 24,000 and this is going to be 15,000. Right? So 75, 80, 90, 114. So this is going to be 1,14,000. So my work in progress is 1,14,000 rupees. Next, finished goods remain in stock for 2 months. Again, raw material, labor, overheads. This is 75,000 into 2, 48,000 into 2 and 30,000 into 2. Right? Raw material, labor, overheads are picked up from here and they have said 2 months. Now 75 into 2 is 1,50,000, 96,000 and 60,000. Right? When you add this will come to 3,06,000. Fine. Next, they are saying that credit period allowed by suppliers of raw material is 1 month. Now remember, suppliers and creditors are the same thing. So creditors for supply of raw material. Raw material we know is 75,000. So 75,000 and they are saying 1 month. You write this amount in the inner column, 75,000. Right? Let's move ahead. Credit period allowed for debtors is 2 months. Now can you see this please people? Now debtors is calculated by this formula. Selling price per unit into total units into debtors period upon total period. Okay. Selling price per unit guys is 60 rupees. Total units is 36,000. They are saying in the sum that the debtors period is 2 months. In 1 year there are 12 months. So when you calculate this will come to the value of your debtors, which will be 3,60,000. Right? Do we get this thing clear? Let's see this once again. The formula says selling price per unit into total units into debtors period upon total period. Right? Now from where do I get selling price per unit? My working note 1 shows me my selling price per unit, which is 60. Total units. From where do I get total units? That I get from my working note 2, 36,000 units per annum. Debtors period. Debtors period is given to you in the sum, 2 months. Divided by total period. Total period, there are 12 months in a year. When you multiply this comes to 3,60,000 rupees. Now the next adjustment says that 25% of the sales are for cash. Now guys, I am selling to the debtors, right? Out of which they have paid me 25% immediately. That means my debtors are going to be 75%. So whenever there is a cash sales, whatever remains after the cash is paid will be your credit sales of debtors. So now this 3,60,000 will be multiplied by 75%, which will give you 2,70,000. So thus my debtors, now I will write in my working note, is from working note I will copy to my fair work, is 2,70,000. So average amount locked in stock of debtors is 2,70,000. Next, they are saying that time lag in wages and overheads is 1 month. Here is time lag. Now let's see this. They are saying that time lag in wages and overheads is 1 month. Wages is 48,000. We have calculated from the working note. Overheads is 30,000. They are saying 1 month. So into 1 into 1. So this is going to be 48,000 in the inner column, 30,000 in the inner column. Fine. Do we get this thing clear? Right. Let's move on ahead. Cash in hand and bank is 25,000. Cash in hand and bank is given to you as 25,000. Right? There is no advance, so I put a blank there. How do I complete the tallying of the sum? You add entries 1 to 6, that will give you gross working capital. Add all those amounts from 1 to 6, that will give you gross working capital, right? Which then you subtract these three, you add these three entries and bring them in the outer column. Gross working capital minus this will give you your net working capital. I want you to do the tallying on your own. Fine? I want you to do the tallying on your own. Now, just let's quickly recap the sum. When you have to do the sum, first thing that you need to do is you need to have a format ready. So before you start the sum, please make the format ready. How do I make the format ready? Use a double page. On the left side of the page, make working note. On the right side of the page, write the format of working capital. Now, once you have done this, read your sum and get your working note clear as to the selling price per unit, total units and cost structure. Then go on reading the adjustments and go on posting your entries. You will automatically get the sum. It's an extremely easy sum. You should not have a problem solving this sum. Thank you very much.